Hey everyone, and welcome. Today, we're diving straight into the art and science of harvesting persimmons for this explainer. If you've ever felt a little intimidated by these glowing autumn fruits, or maybe you just want to perfect your backyard harvest, well, you're exactly in the right place. We are going to cover the whole shebang, from figuring out what variety you actually have, all the way to a brilliant post-harvest trick that will literally save your unripe fruit. But first, tell me if this sounds familiar. Have you ever bitten into a gorgeous, bright orange persimmon, expecting this burst of sweetness, only to feel your mouth instantly go completely, painfully dry? It's like all the moisture was just sucked right out of it. It is this really jarring, cotton-mouth sensation that you definitely do not forget. And honestly, it's the main reason a lot of people are a little afraid of persimmons in the first place. But the good news is, this incredibly unpleasant experience is completely avoidable. And avoiding that terrible puckering sensation really just starts with one simple thing. Section 1. Know your persimmon variety. Now, what's actually happening in your mouth when you get that dry feeling? It's a scientific process called astringency. Basically, astringency is caused by the presence of tannins in the unripe fruit. If you eat an astringent persimmon before it's completely ripe, those tannins actually bind to the proteins in your saliva, and that's what causes that intense, dry, puckering feeling. So, it's totally harmless, but it's absolutely not a fun culinary experience. So the key to everything is knowing the difference between the two main types of persimmons out there. I like to call this the rule of two. On one side, we have astringent varieties. The most common Asian variety here is the hachia, and you'll also see Native American persimmons in this category. Visually, hachias look like a plump teardrop or an acorn. The golden rule for these? They absolutely must be mushy, like almost jelly-like before you even think about eating them. Now, on the other side, we have non-astringent varieties, like the incredibly popular fuyu. These look totally different. They're flat and round, kind of like a small orange tomato. And the best part about fuyus? You can eat them crisp and firm, right off the tree, just like you would an apple. Okay, so now that you can confidently tell a teardrop-shaped hachia from a flat fuyu, we need to talk about exactly when nature says they're ready. Section 2, the ideal harvest time. The sheer patience required to grow persimmons is kind of amazing. There's this detailed study from the University of Florida that beautifully maps out the long life cycle of this fruit. In April, the green blossoms finally emerge. By May, the flower petals drop and the actual fruit sets. Then, for the entire summer, we're talking June all the way through August, those little fruits just hang out, growing larger but staying stubbornly green. It really isn't until September through November that the magic finally happens. The color changes and the ripening actually kicks in. So what physical signs are we actually looking for in the fall? Well, let's go back to our rule of two. For your non-astringent fuyus, you want to harvest them when the skin is a really uniform pale to deep orange, but the fruit is still firm to the touch. Easy enough, right? But for your astringent hachias, or American varieties, you have to wait until that skin turns a very deep red orange, and when you gently press it with your thumb, it should feel incredibly squishy. Think of a water balloon that's just about to burst. If it offers firm resistance, it is simply not ready. Don't pick it. Now let's do a little myth-busting, because you've probably heard an old gardening wives' tale that you absolutely must wait for the first winter frost before harvesting persimmons. So is that true? Well, yes and no. Traditionally, wild American persimmons are often left on the tree until a frost because the cold actually helps break down those really stubborn tannins. However, for Asian varieties like the fuyu or the hachia, a frost is absolutely not required. They really just need to reach their peak color. Now, a light frost hovering in the 30-degree Fahrenheit range isn't going to hurt them, but you definitely don't need to freeze your Asian persimmons just to make them sweet. Okay, so the color is perfect, the texture is right, and it is finally time to gather your bounty. But how exactly should you get them off the tree without ruining them? Section 3, proper harvesting techniques. Harvesting persimmons is actually a pretty delicate operation, especially with those incredibly soft astringent varieties we just talked about. Here's how you do it. Step 1. Always use a pair of clean pruning shears or gardening scissors. Step 2. You want to cut the stem just above the calyx. That's that green leafy cap sitting at the top of the fruit. Step 3. Place the harvested fruit very gently into a shallow tray and keep it to a single layer. Don't pile them super high in a deep bucket because the sheer weight will easily crush the soft fruit sitting at the bottom. And let me just highlight a massive rookie mistake you really want to avoid. Never, ever just grab the fruit and pull. Persimmon branches can be surprisingly brittle, so pulling can literally snap the branch right off, which obviously damages the tree. On top of that, if you pull the fruit and that leafy calyx pops off, you're leaving a literal open wound right on the top of your persimmon. Keeping that cap attached is absolutely essential to prevent premature rotting and to maximize how long you can store them. But what happens if you, or maybe a slightly overeager neighbor, accidentally picked an astringent Hachia persimmon while it's still hard as a rock? Well, don't panic and definitely do not bite into it. Section 4. Ripening and post-harvest. I absolutely love this next tip. It's a totally foolproof household hack from food writer Lisa Lynn, which she got from her mother, Mama Lynn. If you have a stubbornly hard Hachia, here is the secret to speed ripening it. Step 1. Trim the stem if it's long, and just place the unripe persimmon leaf side down in a large pot or a deep sauté pan. Step 2. Nestled right in that same pot, add 1 or 2 regular, everyday apples. Step 3. Put the lid on the pot and just let the whole thing sit on your counter for 6 to 7 days. So why does Mama Lynn's trick work so perfectly? Well, it's all about ethylene gas. Apples naturally release this invisible plant hormone. So by trapping the apple and the persimmons together under a lid, you're essentially creating this concentrated ethylene chamber. The gas signals the persimmons to rapidly accelerate their own ripening process. After about a week, you'll open up that lid to find that your once rock-hard Hachias are now perfectly soft, deeply colored, and incredibly sweet. Seriously, it's kitchen science at its finest. So, we've identified them, picked them perfectly, and ripened them up to sweet perfection. Let's wrap things up with Section 5, Benefits, Tips, and Conclusion. All of this careful harvesting really pays off wonderfully. Persimmons are absolute nutritional powerhouses. They are totally loaded with vitamins A and C, along with some excellent dietary fiber. Plus, their culinary versatility is just amazing. You can slice firm fuyus fresh right into a fall salad, or you can scoop out a super jelly-like hachia and just eat it like a natural pudding. If you have a really abundant harvest, their high natural pectin makes them absolutely perfect for baking into moist breads and muffins without even needing any extra thickeners. You can even slice and dehydrate them or throw the really ripe ones directly into the freezer so you can blend them into smoothies later on. Now, before you run out to the orchard, I do need to give you a quick but really important reminder regarding your planning. Always consult local experts or your local agricultural extensions to adapt these harvest times to your specific region, your local frost dates, and your unique microclimate. Because, what happens in early October in a sunny California valley is going to look very, very different from late November in a chilly North Carolina backyard. So definitely let your local environment be your ultimate guide. And that brings us to our final thought for this explainer. You are now officially equipped to tackle the persimmon harvest with total confidence, avoiding that dreaded tannin pucker and maximizing your sweet, sweet rewards. So I leave you with this question. When autumn rolls around next, will you be slicing and crunching into a crisp, bright fuyu? Or will you be the patient gardener, holding out for the decadent, pudding-like sweetness of a perfectly ripe hachia? The choice is entirely yours, and honestly, both are completely delicious. Thanks so much for joining me today, and happy harvesting.